Hello, welcome to the Lost and Found podcast. This is your host, Amanda. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Did you miss me? I missed you. It's been a busy weekend. This was Valentine's weekend. Valentine's Day was on Friday. Saturday, I had to take care of myself because my friends and I, when we went out Friday night, had a little too much fun. A little bit too much fun being single and wearing new dresses and feeling ourselves the other night. But it was a good time. I'm glad I went out, but I paid for it a little bit on Saturday. And now this is 2 days later, so I know I'm a little bit behind the times by wishing you a happy Valentine's Day. I promise that the content for today's episode will still be relevant in general, but in terms of timing, my editing for this it didn't happen. The episode that came out last week about the 7 lessons for personal growth that you might be missing or not realize are actually growth moments, that podcast episode was edited and finished, and I was adding the new opening music, the new intro, because we changed the name of the podcast, and I kind of explained that last week, but I was trying to add that new music to it, and for whatever reason, it cut the first 50 minutes. All the 50 minutes of editing that I had done and fixed was gone. And so I had worked until 9 o'clock. I had done my regular job, then spent 4 hours editing, and then 9 o'clock at night realized that everything I had just done was missing, and so I had to start all over. So that made me really sad. So I did not get to record the Valentine's Day love lesson-y themed content because I would have done it the following day and it didn't happen. So that way it could have come out and it could have been a bonus episode, and I would have been on the same train and on topic like all the other podcasters that are putting out love comments and love content around Valentine's Day. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm a rebel. I'm late to the game, but I'm devil may care attitude right now. Anyway, I still wanted to talk about this anyway, though, because not that anybody asked a single woman for her love advice, but when I was out with my friends on Friday night, there were questions and things that would come up, and we would obviously start talking about, I haven't seen you in X amount of time. What have you been up to? How's your business? How's work going? How's your health? How's your family? You catch up on all the things, but every person that we were talking to inadvertently, despite having so much success in their life otherwise, in other areas, and, being powerful, go-getter, smart, capable women, each one of them still had an off thing to say about their relationship. And I was one of the only single people that was there, but I ended up listening and helping all of them. It's kind of I don't know why you're asking me. I haven't dated someone seriously since, it's not been a serious relationship since 2021. So it's been a minute for me. And I don't even know that what I did during that previous relationship in 2021 was even the right things to do. So I don't know why you're asking me, but you're asking me. And then one of the women later on Saturday, the next day, did text me and reached out and was like, "Hey, thank you so much for listening and helping me out, and for saying these things yesterday. I feel a lot better. I'm just, I'm gonna do what we talked about." And I was like, "Okay, great. I hope what I said works. Hope what I said was the best fit for you and for your life and for what's going on with you." But it made me realize that I should probably talk about that. I should talk about the lessons learned so far, because just because I'm single and still working on my love life and trying to find the best way to prioritize a love life in a healthy way doesn't mean that all of my listeners are single too. I'm sure some of you are married, some of you are, or you have a significant partner, or you might be married with kids, or you could even be a little bit older than me and maybe you're married and then divorced. I don't know. So the thing about love is that I've noticed it doesn't really matter how old you are or how many partnerships you may have had. Love can be an elusive not only feeling but situation, and finding a loving relationship that lasts takes a whole lot more effort and discernment than one might really think, especially our society lets us believe, because, Hallmark Channel and Disney and Hollywood has led us to believe that it's just right around the corner, or when you know, or you're going to touch the same cantaloupe at the grocery store and giggle about that. I don't know. Maybe you won't be that cliche, or if it's me, maybe you're in the frozen pizza section of the aisles. I digress. it's funny that it's not the reason we have all these all these reality shows surrounding love, like 90 Day Fiance, 90 Day Abroad, The Bachelor, the Bachelorette franchises, Love is Blind. Like, there's a reason that all these shows are so popular, because everybody, no matter who you are, at any stage in your life, all over the world, at some point, you are craving deep connection. You want to feel a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And it's so nice to have a partner that agrees with that and wants to chase that kind of similar feeling and that passion. And when it doesn't work out, we all love the drama. And when it doesn't work out, misery loves company. So it feeds on itself. You want to be in love. You want to follow a path. You want to find, quote unquote, your person. But at the same time, we're all so afraid of getting hurt, so afraid of explaining our real feelings, so afraid of just being direct and saying, I want this, I need that, or I'm looking for this. Do you have that? Yes or no? And if you don't, being okay with walking away is hard. Because you're so into somebody sometimes that you're like, I don't want to turn them off by doing X, Y, or Z. It's kind of like, okay, but there's always a way to communicate what it is you want without being abrasive. But you also can't control how they receive the information you want to give them, and you can't control what they decide to do with that information. The only thing you can control is being vulnerable enough and willing enough to share what it is you're looking for, or share what it is you're trying to ask for. And that takes some courage. It really does. And I am not here to say that I have been courageous every single time. I have not. I have absolutely been afraid and diminished my own feelings in relationships before for the sake of not getting into a fight, or out of fear for my physical safety, out of fear that I would trigger them and make them break up with me, and I didn't want to be broken up with. And all of those things lead back to, I'm sure, if I was going to, as a self-therapist lately, over the last almost 2 years, a lot of that leads back to my own self-worth and not sticking up for who I am and what I know I deserve. And I think that's kind of the crux of a lot of romantic relationship issues, is that we're not communicating, and we're not always mature enough to handle that communication well. Anyway, I wanted to talk about all these lessons because some of these are lessons that I personally have learned. Some of these are lessons that showed up on other podcasters or other content creators' pages over the last couple of days. And so I kind of wrote them down. I wrote down what they said, and then I wrote down my thoughts on what it is that they said and whether or not that lesson was relevant to me and why. And we're just going to kind of talk through all of those at the end of the show notes, or in the description of the episode. I will also have a list of these resources or other pages that I really liked, or an Instagram post or something, a blog post, something like that. If I found it and read through it and found the information helpful, I will add that there. I also want to quickly plug a really sweet friend of mine, Caroline Cole. She performs all around Nashville all the time. And if you love Gracie Abrams, Avril Lavigne, Olivia Rodrigo kind of vibes, those sounds where it's kind of rock and roll, but still guitar and drums and a really catchy beat and very clever lyrical writing, Caroline Cole is your girl. I think her most recent album was Willpower, and it came out in 2023. It's so good. If you are going through kind of like a breakup right now, or you're going through a situationship that's not working out the way that you thought it would, her album Willpower, front to back, no skips. Just listen in order each song. I feel like that was really it's a vibe. If you're going through a heartache right now, if you got broken up with before Valentine's Day, if you went out on Valentine's Day with your significant other, but you got in a fight and now you're in a mood and you got to figure out how to kind of get over yourself, whatever it is, you're trying to get yourself out of bed, you're trying to feel less sad, you need to go on a hot girl walk or something like that, and take this album with you and go listen to it. Just blare that thing as loud as you can stand it, and it'll help. I promise. I really, I promise. If you're into, those other artists, you will like her a lot as well. So that's shameless plug, but absolutely love her. She performs all over Nashville. So if you ever see her on the set list and you're in town, go. I promise you, go. Especially she is at the Bluebird Cafe a lot with other songwriters from the city. So it's always a really good time. She's very talented. You'll like her. So if you're going through a breakup, that's what I would recommend listening to. So that'll also be linked in the show notes later. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Get comfortable. Get a drink. I just have coffee, but if you need something stronger than that in order to listen to all of your all of your Valentine's mistakes with me and you want to commiserate, be my guest. But let's go for it. Absolutely none of these lessons are in a particular order. They are not in alphabetical timeline order or order of priority in terms of you need to know X, Y, Z list. Like, if you don't listen to even 10 more minutes of the show, here's the one lesson. Like, it's not like that. These are just lessons, things that I've either done or experienced in my life, or these are lessons that other people posted about that I've thought were relevant. So let's go through it. Number 1, you are your own best advocate, and working on yourself makes you a better partner to someone else. Yes. This statement came from an episode from the You Up podcast, and I will link it for you if you want to go back and listen to it. It's a hilarious and heartwarming, and it's such a good show because the You Up host, Jared Freed and Jordana Abraham, they will talk very openly and honestly about being disgusting haters, but all the advice that they're giving you about relationships and situationships, every possible question you think you could have about dating in the modern world, from dating apps to in real life to exes popping up, ghosting, all the weird traumas that can come with trying to figure out what it is you want out of a relationship. They are excellent. So go listen to their show. But they released an episode that basically says, you are your own best advocate, so working on yourself is going to make you a better partner for someone else. I really like this because I know that for me, when I was younger and I wanted to date people that I thought were interested in me, I would try to be who I thought they wanted me to be. You know, they mentioned that they liked this part of my personality, or they mentioned that they liked this kind of outfit, or they mentioned that they liked that I don't do X, Y, or Z behavior the way that their ex did that behavior. And I would tweak parts of myself to appease to them, or I would stop doing what used to make me happy. So like working out or going to soccer games, going to dance classes, whatever. I would stop doing what I enjoyed doing, or the parts of myself that I liked the most. I would be more willing to give those up and stop taking care of myself in order to spend more time with this other person. And I understand that, like, when you're first dating someone, it's so exciting. You get kind of the butterfly jittery feeling. You really look forward to talking to them, getting to know them, spending time with them, which that's really the only way to even become friends and figure out if you like them, you know, genuinely enjoy them. But when it gets to the point that it's starting to push you away from who you are, and you're having to modify parts of yourself that don't make sense, right? It's not necessarily behaviors that are harming anyone, but it's simply, I'm going to modify who I am in order to make this other person happy. It's a fruitless quest, honestly. It really is, because there's nothing that you can do that's going to make that other person happy. That other person has to choose to be happy and work on themselves to make sure that they are doing things that make themselves happy, not the other way around. So always being conscientious of having intentional action and spending time together is important, but not to the detriment of your own well-being. Does that make sense? You need to find a partner that encourages you to still have your independent life, that still encourages you to do what makes you feel the best version of yourself. And anybody that gets upset with you for setting a boundary or saying, I need to do X, Y, and Z to feel better, and they manipulate you or try and tell you, that just means you don't want to see me anymore, or I get the feeling like you don't even like me because you're always busy doing other X, Y, or Z thing. And somebody that's insecure or trying to control where you can and cannot go, or what you do or do not do. And if that's not part of your relationship contract, it's not okay. Working on yourself makes you into the best possible version of yourself. And when you are able to operate at the best possible version of yourself, then you get to be a happy partner. You get to be a loving participant in this relationship instead of it feeling so off balance. So watch out for that. Lesson number 2. We kind of already touched on this, but this is from Mel Robbins and her husband, Chris Robbins. They did an episode over the last couple of days that was all about their 30-year marriage, and they accepted listener questions and they read them on the podcast and answered them together. His perspective, her perspective, and then the lessons they learned in their own marriage that they wanted to share with people. So this was one of the ones that I really liked that they pointed out, which is, you cannot control your partner's happiness. If you want to make someone happy, then you have to marry someone who's already happy. Ooh. Rough. How do you find someone that's already happy? And how can you trust that they claim that they're happy? How can you trust that they will actually be happy and sustain that? Oh, tough. I don't know if you guys remember years and years and years ago, Will Smith had a viral moment. I think it was on Facebook, to be honest, but I'm vaguely pulling this out of my ass. But Will Smith did a viral video where he admitted that he and his wife were having trouble, and they were having a heart-to-heart, and realized that they were trying to depend too much on each other for their central happiness, their main level of being happy. And Will finally, I guess, laid down all his cards on the table. Was like, look, I cannot be responsible for your happiness. If you need to go and do something to work on yourself, I support you. But forcing each of us forcing the other one to be our core center and most important thing, and the entirety of our life built around my happiness is based on you, it's not healthy and it won't work. And we're going to run into a wall if we keep trying to do that, essentially, is what he talked about. So when Mel and her husband brought this up again, it reminded me of that viral video that Will Smith had, where he finally had that kind of epiphany with his wife. I can't be in charge of your happiness. The only person in charge of your happiness is you. And I support you doing whatever it is that you need to do to go and work on becoming happy. And we'll meet back in the middle, right? And so I really liked that Mel and her husband brought that up as well, because it kind of feeds back into her major book that she's selling right now, the Let Them Theory. You have to let your partner be who they are, and you have to let them find and figure out what will make them happy, and you can't control their level of happiness. I think there are moments and mementos, I guess you could say, if you're paying attention to love languages and you are feeding into their bucket as a good supportive partner would do. That's great. It definitely probably will elevate your partner's level of happiness, but you can't fully control it. It's going to ebb and flow. Your partner has an independent life outside of you. Your partner's going to go through issues at work. They're going to go through issues with their personal life, or their own friends, or their own family members, or their own career choices. And you can't control what exactly is going to happen to your partner throughout that process. But what you can do is look for signs and behaviors in a partner that do indicate that they are happy, or indicate that they are striving for a quality of life that will enable them to be happy with their life choices, be happy with how things are going and progressing for them. Are they actively working on themselves? Are they in therapy? Are they participating in independent activities that bring them joy in some sort of way? Are they communicating how they feel and working through that when it doesn't work? When something goes wrong, are they spiraling out of control and getting stressed out and taking it out on you? Or are they recognizing, oh man, this is a really bad thing. It made me feel really bad, but I'm going to find a way to climb out of the hole. Are they self-aware and active about finding ways to maintain their own happiness? Or are they acting very codependent? Are they very reliant upon you bring them that kind of joy, and it feels more needy than it does constructive? That's pretty much the advice that they were giving. If you want to make someone happy, you need to marry someone that is already happy, because they're coming into that relationship with the self-awareness of knowing who they are, what they like, what they don't like, and what they are willing to spend their time on, because they know what joy it's going to bring them. And that's somebody you can always work with. That's somebody that's willing to sit at the table and split those, tough conversations right down the middle together. And I think that's so, so crucial. Being able to pay attention while you're out dating to what people are saying and doing. And if the indications are, okay, maybe they haven't worked everything out that they wanted to work out, but they are at least making an active effort to find joy, or find, as my mom likes to say, find glimmers, find positive affirmations, find the silver lining in certain situations. Or are they always in a negative headspace, a scarcity mindset space, a victimhood mindset? How are they choosing to vibrate in their own life? What are they keeping around them or not around them? I would pay attention for that and see who's quote unquote happy or not. Make a beeline for the happy people. I think you'll be a bit more successful in your relationship if you do, especially if you fully understand that you cannot control your own partner's happiness. No matter which partner you're with throughout your entire life, you can't control their happiness, but you can contribute to your own and live by example. All right. Lesson number 3, anytime that you are trying to control something that's outside of your control, it's actually going to cause more stress for you. I know for me, being a type A personality, I'm an overachiever, have dealt with perfectionism concerns all my life. I don't like to half-ass anything. I value the quality of my work. I value the effort I put into something. Even if it's wrong the first time, I'm going to do my best to present the best form of whatever this is. And like, I like to learn as I go. I liked being able to get better and better at a particular skill, whatever it is. But I really value stuff like that. And I like being able to get the good grade, get the higher achieving marks, whatever. But I can't control what other people think, do, say, anything like that. And for somebody in that personality type, that's tough. That's a rough thing to let go of when all you're ever wanting is to get it exactly right every single time, and you never will. But we all try to control things because as humans, we have a hardwired need to be in control. We want to feel safe. If your partner is annoying you or frustrating you or not doing what you ask, I think instead of micromanaging them or trying to force them in some sort of direction or force their behavior to change, I think you should take breaks and have separate activities, your own self-care time, and ask yourself these questions. Why is this particular behavior bothering me? Am I letting my partner be who they are, or am I trying to control them? How bad is this particular habit in the grand scheme of things, right? Grand scheme of life, is it an actual threat to me or to people around us? Have I tried explaining how or why this behavior makes me feel a certain way? Or have I just tried to tell them how to do it the right way, do it my way, versus explaining when you do X, it makes me feel as if ABC? Have you tried compromising on the behavior for a alternative solution, such as they won't do their house chores or they won't split the chores with you, so everybody's working, but only one person ends up doing all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the housework, and it gets overwhelming and exhausting sometimes. And they walk in and drop their shoes somewhere, but then their socks are somewhere else, and then they don't put their plates in the sink or in the dishwasher, or they leave it around and won't take the trash out because they know you will. That kind of thing. But for a compromise option, okay, they're not really, for whatever reason, they're just not as much of a cleaner person compared to you. Have you brought it up? Hey, I'd like to come up with a compromise. If we're not willing to share these house chores, I'd like to hire some help. I'd like to get a cleaning crew once a week or something like that, just to help me feel less insane about trying to do this all by myself. Something like that. We have to find a way to reduce unnecessary stressors on ourselves in our relationships, because when you get rid of these unnecessary stressors or these bad habits that inherently are not threatening or not dangerous or whatever, but they're annoying and they're frustrating and it seems to cause the same fight over and over again, reducing all these unnecessary stressors will open up space for the two of you to connect better. And more often than not, you can cut down on the time that you're spending together fighting over the same thing that never actually gets resolved. And Mel Robbins likes to say, when you're using the let them theory in your relationships, you have to say to yourself, let me remind myself that I can only control 3 things in this life: what I think about this problem, what I do or do not do for this problem, and what I do in response to how I feel about it. That's it. That's all you can do. And whenever you get to a point where that could sink in and you go, all right, they're doing the annoying thing again. They're frustrating the living daylights out of me. But is this, in the grand scheme of things, a problem that's actually bad? Is this a problem I've tried to communicate about and it's not worked before? Is this a problem that maybe we could come up with a compromise to fix it, to address it? Think through those questions, and depending on what your answers are to that, then you can kind of go from there and control whatever it is that you're trying to control for yourself, not try and control the other person. That's what I would do. This leads us into the next lesson. You can't force someone's feelings. You'll never be able to do enough to convince someone else to like you or to love you the way that you want to be loved or deserve to be loved. And in my 20s, my friends and I saw this a lot, not only in myself, but in a lot of my friends, where they would pull Hail Marys on their breakups or their fights with their partners. And it would always seem, when those things would come up, it was unnecessarily hard. Like, it's like trying to, what is it, where you're trying to get the polar opposites of your magnets to come together. And like when you're actually holding the 2 magnets in front of each other, you can feel the pushback on both of them. Like there's kind of that magnetic pull, but also a bit of a push where it's like trying to push the thing away. I know I am butchering that. So if there's a scientist listening to that, do not come for me. But that's how it feels in your actual relationship, where if you're trying to force something to happen and you're trying to force somebody's feelings to either change or grow faster, or you're on page 75 and they're still on page 20 of the relationship levels and you're not matching up anymore, if it's starting to feel forced, then it is forced. And that was a hard lesson for me growing up. There's nothing you can do that will ever make you, quote unquote, enough for the wrong person. When you are mismatched, it doesn't matter how you act, how you look, how you talk, how you walk, how you dress, anything. If they don't vibe with you, they don't have the spark with you, they don't, for whatever reason, they don't hate you, they don't love you, they're indifferent, kind of a thing. It's not going to be like Hollywood. You're not going to one day take your glasses off and let your hair down and it flows in the wind right behind you and they're going to go, oh my gosh, where did she come from? Like, that's Sally. We've known her the whole life. What do you mean, where did she come from? How did you not notice her? I never knew. Just, no. And if that's how that person does react and all you did was change like one tweaked thing about yourself because you decided that it made you feel better about who you are, fuck that person. They're only coming after you for the idea of who you are, not who you are as a person, because who you are as a person was always enough to begin with. Who you are as a person was always worthy of this attention, was always worthy of this level of consideration and respect and trust and investment. And you cannot force someone to like you or love you in the way that you deserve. And if it becomes unnecessarily hard to make things work, then you're just not a match. And you don't need to use up all of your Hail Marys on people that have said directly, I don't want to date you, or I don't like this about you, or I want you to change for me to do X, Y, and Z. You don't owe them shit, and they don't owe you either. They don't want you to be who you are, or they're not accepting you for who you are. And you have to have the guts and the clarity to understand that any time that you spend with somebody that is not on the same page as you is keeping you from meeting the person who is going to be on the same page, who is going to be interested in that, who's going to go, fuck yes, all in, give it, I want that one. That one. Take that one off the shelf. That one's for me. Like, I'm taking that one home tonight. There's no better feeling than knowing and looking at your partner and going, yeah, that one, over and over and over again. I want to annoy this human for the rest of my life. I want to spend the best days of my life. I want to spend the worst day of my life. I want to spend the most emotional, jaw-dropping, crazy, adventurous day of my life. And I want to spend the longest day of couch rotting of my life with this person. Full spectrum. Every event we could go through, if I absolutely had to go through it with only one person, you need to be able to sit across that table and say, that one. I pick that one over and over again. And if that person doesn't say that and they don't want to invest the time or the energy into things that actually align with what you want, it's not it. They're just going to keep stringing you along because it's always nice to be loved. It's always nice to be adored. I don't know anybody that actually, I know people that hate group attention. They don't want to be the center of attention like at a party. But like knowing that somebody has a crush on you, like it's flattering for the most part, as long as the person's harmless and they're not like stalking you and threatening you, because that's a whole other problem, which we will not get into today. But I get it. Stringing people along though, it happens. It happens. Everybody's got a little bit of an ego boost that they would prefer to have, and it happens. But Mel Robbins did an interview on the Girls Gotta Eat podcast, and I will link that as well. And she said in that podcast that nobody can string you along. If you can see that behavior and you can see that somebody's stringing you along, if you're in a situationship or breadcrumbing, or this person likes to come in and out of your life whenever they feel like it, or they only want to spend time with you when it's convenient for them, it's a relationship of convenience rather than shared effort. If you can see that that behavior is happening and you can recognize that it is conflicting with what aligns with what you want out of life, then it's no longer a confusing situation. You can't sit there and claim, oh, I'm confused. No, they're treating you in a way that makes you confused. That is a clear message. And by letting this person continue to string you along, you are the one giving up your power and letting them tie you up in knots. You're letting their behavior make you upset. You're letting their behavior continue to confuse you, because it's hard. It's hard to accept rejection. It's really hard to stand up for who you are and what you want sometimes. I think they did I'm going to butcher this, but Dove did a commercial years and years, a big campaign about girlhood and the moment when girls start to hate themselves and hate their bodies and start picking it apart. And I think the studies were really, really scary because it said that it's getting younger and younger and younger. So like it used to be around 11 or 12 when girls would be judging each other and judging themselves. And now it's probably closer to like 7 or 8 years old when they're starting to show off these really sad behaviors and worrisome body shaming, body image, self-doubting behaviors. And sometimes as women, we put up with a whole lot more than we should, because we've been told by society for decades and decades that you're supposed to sit down and shut up and look pretty, or keep it to yourself. You're supposed to not rock the boat, anything like that. Or you have to be flattered by any little amount of attention that you get, because your worth is based on your beauty and your ability to attract a partner and maintain a relationship. And any woman that deviates from that expectation of a traditional lifestyle, she's in the wrong or whatever. And so I thought it was interesting that Mel was telling the hosts of GGE, actually, nobody can string you along. They don't have the power to do that. You are giving them the power to do that. And I thought that was just an interesting perspective, or a different way to frame it, reference what's going on if that is happening to you, why breadcrumbing is so dangerous. We talked about that in a previous episode, that breadcrumbing is poisonous, right? Tastes good, but turns out it's poisonous. And it's because of this, the stringing you along situation. Like, you are willingly taking the poison. You're allowing them to tie you up in knots. You're saying you're confused when the reality is it's a clear message. Anything that's not a yes is a no. And learning when the no is there actually gives you so much more empowerment. The rejection part hurts. Yeah, I'm not going to deny it. Like, I've had crushes or reached out to people or tried to date people here in Nashville, and when it doesn't work out, it sucks. My initial thought is still always, oh man, what did I do wrong? Or why wasn't I pretty enough? Or why wasn't I interesting enough for them to, ask me out again or whatever? And that's not it. It doesn't matter. The answer was they weren't as interested in me as I was in them. So I have to let them go and live their own life, and I get to go and live my life and find somebody that will be interested. I don't have to be strung along anymore, because if they feel like messing around or being confusing, that is my message. That is the clarity that I need. It means no. Close, shut, done. That tells me everything I need to know about who they are, or at least how they view me in their life. And I don't have to stay. I can keep it moving. Which leads us into the next message, which we have talked about several times throughout this podcast, but rejection is not a measurement of your self-worth. I'll say that again for everybody in the back. Rejection is not a measurement of your self-worth. Just because somebody's not interested in what you're selling does not mean that you do not have value. You can always find a buyer. You can always find the right match for you. You might not be finding the person that you enjoy the most or that you click with the most on the timeline that you wanted. You might not be getting to the next level of seriousness or the next phase that you're interested in with someone at the rate that you thought you would, but that does not mean that you are not valuable. What you bring to the table isn't important. It's actually the opposite. It's taking you this much longer to find the right person for you, which means you get this much more amount of time to work on who you are, to narrow down that list and chisel away at, what do I want? What do I not want? And the person that has that internal clarity of, this is who I am, this is what I like, this is what I stand for, that person is always sexy. That person is finding ways to live in alignment with their life. That person glows. That person is self-aware. That person is working on being the best possible version of themselves, to the point that rejection is more information about how to continue living in that way, how to keep building upon that list of what I want and what I don't want. Rejection's not a reflection of your own value. If you believe in what you are and who you are and what you bring to the table, nothing like that is ever going to stop you from getting whatever it is that you want. You just have to remember that the longer you walk down the wrong path or pursue the wrong person who is not a match for you, it's going to take you twice as long to get back to where you started from. It's going to take you that much longer to turn around and start over. And trust me, I know a lot of people say, like, don't ever say a relationship was a waste of time. Mistakes are never a waste of time if you're learning from them. But I understand why you could be so mad at yourself during a breakup, because you start saying, how could I be so stupid? How could I have let them lead me on for that long? How could I have stayed with somebody that was clearly the wrong one for me? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know why you stayed. I know why I have. I know why I let people walk all over me or let people lead me down a path to make me believe that I wasn't worth their time or their effort, but I would jump through hoops. Hell, I would set up a whole circus. I would follow them all over the country, popping up tents and bringing the elephants in and all the trapeze artists. I would have found the best magician in the world if it made that person happy. But the truth is, there was nothing you can ever do that will make somebody else believe that you are enough. But your ability to develop that discernment of knowing who to open up to and who to not be with is so important. Building up the discernment to know who to open up to and when to walk away, it's so crucial. And that's a useful skill whether you're in a relationship or not. If in business, in friendship, in raising your own kids, in making major financial decisions, you can go down a path, but figuring out how to listen to, all right, it's time to walk away, and following through on that, that's just as important as learning, all right, it's time to dive in head first. Let's go. You can do that. It'll get easier for you to be able to do that, though, once you accept the fact that rejection is not a measurement of your self-worth. Ooh. So this one kind of feeds back into what we've already said a little bit, but learning when to salvage a relationship versus letting it go takes a serious amount of self-worth and self-awareness. If somebody's not buying what you're selling, it's okay to move on and let them leave. You can't control making them stay. So one of the hardest things I had to learn in my 20s was, if someone breaks up with you, let them. If somebody says that they don't want to be here anymore, let them go. Because if they're already admitting out loud that they are no longer invested in a certain situation, you can't convince them otherwise. And why would you want to keep somebody around who already said, I don't want to be here anymore? That sounds miserable. It kind of goes back to one of my earlier messages, forcing somebody's feelings. If they're no longer interested, how much fun do you think you're going to have together, right? Are you still jumping through hoops to convince them that you're a good time or that you're everything that they could want or ever need? Like, I got too much other stuff to do now. I have a podcast I like. I have a full-time job. I have a dog. I have friends. I have other things that fulfill me. And I'm choosing to go out of my way to spend a significant amount of time to be with you. And you don't want to be here? Bye. Like, boy, bye. Girl, bye. Like, see ya. It's so hard to do. And so when I was younger, I thought I would only be lovable if somebody loved me back. I only had value as a lovable person or as a girlfriend if I had a relationship, because that's external validation. Other people could see, oh, Amanda's in a relationship. Somebody must like her. Like, she must be nice to spend time with. Like, somebody must care. And that was the wrong way to think about myself. And that was the wrong thing to do, because it made me stay in situations that were not good for me, that were either toxic or unsafe, because I was too afraid to be alone and focus on myself and build my own self up. I was expecting somebody else to build me up or bring value to me on paper. And that was one of the most fragile ways to build up my confidence. If you are trying to salvage a relationship because you think being in a relationship makes you a better person, despite that person already saying they don't want to be here anymore, it's like living on a house of cards. The moment somebody wants to take their cards and go home, what are you left with? Which leads me into the next lesson. Don't stay where you are not valued. Full stop. That's the message pretty much of this entire episode. You cannot stay where you are not valued. And loneliness, I know, is an epidemic in the US. I'm sure more likely all over the world, especially over the last 5 years, during COVID and lockdowns, and how society has really changed to being a more digital online world rather than a face-to-face world, and we are losing our ability to maintain connections with humans all the time. And most humans crave connection because it can support your social systems, it can serve as a reflection of ourselves. You want to be with people because it brings community and shared responsibilities. Human beings are hardwired for survival, and going out on your own doesn't have as high of a likelihood of survival. So it makes sense that, we're trying to always find ways to connect with other people. And when it comes to your love and relationships, you can't really have an equal footing with each other if you're in a power dynamic that's in a disproportionate power dynamic with someone. And I've had a really hard time learning this lesson because, it comes from a low level of self-esteem or a subconscious belief that I'm not worth the love and the effort to be with because I'm not enough as is. I have let people back into my life, or I've given multiple chances to people who did not deserve it. I have been in a lot of long distance relationships with emotionally and physically unavailable people. I have let myself stay confused for far too long, and I have questioned how the other person feels about me, and I have let them present me with vague statements. I have listened to their words and not their actions, so I wasn't paying attention to what behavior was telling me versus what they were saying. I have also tried to be physical out of loneliness in the hopes that it would spark a deeper connection with someone later, and that never ever works, especially with someone who doesn't value your worth to begin with, especially with someone that does not feel the same way you do about each other. Going physical is never going to convince them they should stay. It might just prolong the inevitable of a breakup. And that's the crux of the human condition, right? Like, you want to feel connected. You want to feel loved and accepted by other people because it makes you feel good. It makes you relax. It, de-stresses you about your quote unquote survival. Your lizard brain can go, okay, cool. I'll make it. I'll be all right. I found someone. But begging for connection versus honestly and earnestly seeking aligned connection will not sustain you. And the truth is that if somebody likes you and they want to be with you, then you'll know it because you won't be confused. They will call you, they will tell you, they will text you, they will reach out to you, they will say, this is what I want, I would like to see X, Y, and Z, this is what I'm looking for, etc. The effort they put into spending time with you will be undeniable. That's how you'll know. I don't fully believe in the whole when you know scenario. Like, how did I know to marry him? When you know. Like, no, not always, right? Sometimes I believe that it's got to be the right person, right place, right time. You have to be in the right headspace, and so do they. And you both have to be on the same page. And it's really hard to find that all the time, perfectly, every single time. It's hard. But I don't think you should ever stay where you're not valued. Anything less than that is going to be an indecisive or an indifference moment at best. And you deserve to feel loved and respected and appreciated for exactly who you are and what you offer the world. You need to start teaching yourself to say, when somebody's acting off or aloof or confusing, you have to teach yourself to say, is this attractive to me? Yes or no? I am turned off when X, Y, or Z behavior happens. You got to say that. You got to reaffirm that in your mind so that way you can start recognizing moments that do not align with what you want. And when those moments no longer align with what you want, the only thing you can control is how you choose to react to that behavior going forward. Now, this is a two-way street. All relationships, if they're, on an equal footing there, all the relationships are a two-way street. So don't be an asshole just because other people are. The golden rule for all your relationships, especially your romantic ones, the golden rule still holds true. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do you need clarity? Ask for it. Do you want a date? Ask them on a date. Do you need help, or are you frustrated with something? Tell them. Are you in a place where you know this is no longer what you want anymore and you need to break up? Tell them. Do you want revenge? Walk away. Are you thinking about doing violent things or lighting their stuff on fire? Having a full Carrie Underwood moment and scratching their car and taking a baseball bat to things. Walk away. Walk away. Walk away. Go to the brunch table, vent it all out with your friends, order a Bloody Mary and some mimosas, whatever it is you got to do, but revenge is not the answer. As Beyonce says, the best revenge is your paper. So finding the right fit, finding what actually makes you happy, finding what helps you live in alignment, somewhere else, that's the best revenge. You want somebody who you used to date, get out of your mind. You want to forget about them. You want to move on from them. Find what helps you feel happy and centered. Do what makes you feel the most alive, because that person is always going to find what they want. That person is always going to get what they are willing to work for. And you will get the right partner, but you also have to be the right partner. You have to be the best version of yourself. You have to be so self-aware and stand up for what it is that you like and you don't like. And that person has the ability to move on from rejection. That person has the ability to get the quote unquote revenge, because you're doing better by simply being better, by becoming a better version of yourself, by learning the lessons and the mistakes and building your discernment. That's the person I'd hang out with. I want to hang out with the flawed person that's gotten broken up with and started over a bunch of times, because they probably have such life stories and lessons that they've learned from, that they're going to be a more interesting person to date. Seriously, want revenge? Walk away. Okay, let's keep moving along. All right. Okay, so this one definitely came from social media. I've seen it a lot. Gabrielle Union had a post a long time ago, or Betches Media reposted a video that I saw that was from Gabrielle Union, where it looks like she's in a dressing room and she's explaining that timelines are subjective and time is not running out. If you're in your 30s and you're still building your life together and you're figuring out how to live in alignment, timelines are subjective. You are still on time. You are right where you need to be. You might not be where you want to be, but you are right where you need to be in this season. I took away from that video, not everyone is going to be for you. Not everyone is going to be for you the same way that you are not going to be for them. And you don't need to hold a grudge over that fact. You just need to keep doing you. And some people like to translate that as what is for you won't miss you. And it is real frustrating and really hard to not feel hopeless when you feel like it keeps missing you again and again and again. What you think you're going for is missing you again and again and again. When you're watching everybody else around you getting married, having babies, doing well in their career, doing X, Y, or Z that you always wanted to do, but you haven't hit your stride yet, or it hasn't clicked for you yet, or maybe you thought you were doing the right thing and you did everything that they told you to do. You went to college, you had the kids, you went to college, you got married, you had the kids, you bought the house, you got the dog, and now you're in your 40s or 50s and you're waking up one day and going, holy crap, I've done everything that I was told to do. I've hit every milestone I was supposed to hit. Why am I still not happy? Why? And sometimes you have to kind of burn it all down and start over. And then other times you have to accept that your timeline is just different from everybody else. There's only one you. There's only one person that can live your life, and that's you. So your timeline is your own. It's subjective. Trying to compare your timeline to somebody else's, it's not going to work. And now that's not to say that, you've been out here, you've been dating, you've been trying to figure things out, you've been meeting a bunch of people. And I know a lot of us, myself included, sometimes have a moment where you think about the one that got away. And that's not to say that the one that got away does not exist. And I think those unicorns, for lack of a better term, the person that got away, I think they come into your life for a reason. But it's up to you to do the work to try and understand the lesson that person left behind. Why did they get away? Why did it not work out? What was I doing? What were they doing in that moment to make it not successful? And how can I make changes now so that the next time I meet someone that I do care about and want to be with, I don't let it slip away as easily, or I don't let it slip away or fall apart the way that I let it fall apart last time. And the challenge to this is when you've also been with someone for a long time. You may have been together for a long time and you start to feel like you're not on the same page anymore because you're looking at everybody else's progression around you. And you start to ask yourself or each other, are we getting married? Are we having kids? Are we walking in parallel on the same page? Are we chasing the same end goal here? And if not, you have to start these conversations together. And you got to see where you're at and either come up with a solution or some clarity about what direction you're going in, but only focus on your own timeline. If you try and go into those conversations and bring in, well, Susie and Michael have been together the same amount of time as us, but they're already engaged and getting married next month. Like, why aren't we? Or Jason and Rebecca are doing X, Y, and Z, and they met after us and they're still further along. Like, how come we're not where we thought we would be? And then the other partner might be going, wait, what? What do you mean? Have we not been on the same page? Have we not been doing the thing? And sometimes there's a mismatch because both of you deserve to feel fulfilled and safe and heard and not have your time, quote unquote, wasted if you are wanting different things. But you have to operate on your own timeline together, not on other people's timelines, not on other people's expectations of where you should or should not be by now. And part of accepting your own timeline and not trying to pursue other people's timelines is that you have to accept that you are allowed to change your mind and your partner is allowed to change their mind as well. But changing your mind while you're in a relationship and never voicing it, that you have changed your mind or that you're having these self-doubt feelings or you're having second thoughts about certain things, changing your mind and not voicing it is cruel. It is. It's unfair to not only you, because you are suppressing who you are, you're burying it deep, you are storing that emotion somewhere where it's not getting addressed and it's going to bubble up eventually. It's cruel. It's not fair to you to not speak your mind, and it's not fair to your partner to try and make things work or live in a life that they are assuming is going well when the reality is it may not be going well for you. And they're living out of ignorance, not maliciously, but they're living out of ignorance and assuming that things are going well and y'all are on the same page and you're not. Holding your emotions in, holding in how you feel, it's cruel to both of you. And let's see. The last lesson here that I wrote down is that your primary goal is not to just meet someone. If you're out there in a relationship thinking about romantic partnerships and things, your goal isn't just to meet someone for the sake of meeting someone. Your goal isn't to just meet someone for the sake of meeting someone. You can meet people every day if you really wanted to. You could go out there, chat up whoever it is that you wanted in the line at the grocery store, at the cafe, at a WeWork location, at a sporting event, at a concert, at whatever kind of events that you like to participate in outdoors, etc. You can meet people all the time. So getting into a relationship for the sake of being in one may not really be serving you correctly. It may not be serving your ultimate end goal the way that you think it is. Dating should be about figuring out what it is you like and what it is you don't like. And every step you take while dating should help you refine that list. Mel Robbins brings this up in her interview with the GGE hosts, and she says that it's not the desire to have a great partner that's your issue. The issue is that we get so overwhelmed by the desire that we accept less than we deserve. You're so worried about being in a relationship for the sake of being in a relationship, you end up doing that to yourself. And it's super important when you're dating because you're an adult and you get to choose how much time and energy you put into something. I get to choose what I think about this behavior. I get to choose what I do and I don't do. You can leave a date at any time for any reason, anytime you want. And you can leave a relationship or a text chain anytime you want. You can leave any dynamic with you and somebody else at any time. And it's important to remind yourself that you have that ability to choose. You don't need to be in a relationship for the sake of being in a relationship if you're going to put in the effort to do something like that, because relationships are not easy. It's not just maybe if you're in a casual fling and both of you agree to stay casual, maybe it'll work out for you to do it that way. Great. But any situationship I've ever been in, the only time it's ever been remotely casual where it felt nice, which seems like an oxymoron, was when I was with someone that I felt safe to be around, where I could be myself. I didn't feel overly concerned with what I looked like, how I spoke, what I did. I could just be. And the connection was always stronger. The physical attraction was always stronger. When I would finally be brave enough to say what I needed to say to that person, because I was honest and I had already built up the rapport of them repeatedly seeing me just be who I am, they could respect what it is I was saying in that moment and they could respond back in kind. But that is really hard to do if you're just jumping into a relationship for the sake of being around somebody. And it's hard to do when you're feeling desperate and lonely to not fall for that. I get it. It's not easy. I really do. And I'm not going to sit here on a high horse and claim that I've done it all correctly, because I haven't. I absolutely haven't. But don't let your desire to find a partner and keep a partner outweigh your ability to refine what it is you want and what it is you do not want, or outweigh your ability to live in alignment for what you want out of your life. Being with someone for the sake of being with them, to be able to claim, oh, I'm a boyfriend, I'm a girlfriend, I'm a partner, I'm a whatever. That title can go away in an instant. That title doesn't mean shit. What matters is how you treat that person and they treat you back. Is that treatment, that mutually agreed upon treatment, aligning with what you want? Yes or no? That's really mostly all I had to say for today. There was a lot of moments over the weekend where I felt less lonely because I was spending time with my friends and I was getting out of the house and I put on the effort, right? Like I did my hair, I did my makeup, I put on a new dress, I felt good. I was vibing with what I felt like was nice. And it was clear because other people at the bars that we went to, like I had so many other girls come up and compliment me on certain things, or I had one girl tell me I looked like Demi Moore, and I was very flattered because she's beautiful. But I think because I was just living in the moment, I was putting out that kind of vibe, and I hope that you will too, whether you're in a relationship or not. Like you got to work on yourself, and you got to keep focusing on being the best version of you, and doing what makes you happy is going to attract the right partner for you. And you cannot worry about what that timeline looks like, because you can't hurry up a season. You can't hurry up a different phase of your life if that phase isn't ready to start yet. And I think the truth is that if you are feeling blocked in your love life, maybe examining your current beliefs will help you. What are your internal thoughts saying to you? Do you have conflicting goals that are actually preventing you from building the romantic life that you want, or finding the love that you want and deserve? Because the truth is, you deserve to be happy. The truth is, your needs are important. The truth is, you deserve a partner that is going to respect you and be kind, and they deserve somebody like that too. So that's really all I have to say about that. There's tons and tons and tons of resources out there all about love and relationships and how to find yourself and build up a good marriage. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what all the answers are, because I don't. I just wanted to share these as some lessons and things that I reflected on over the last couple of days when I was talking to my own friends and listening to these podcasts or these other shows, or reading this, social media content that other creators had put out there about Valentine's Day and relationships related to that, and finding the one, or addressing your loneliness, or whatever. And I think what you consume is just as important about what you say to yourself. So I'm going to share the resources of these things that I enjoy paying attention to and listening to, and hopefully because it helped me, it'll help you too. But let me know if you guys like episodes like this, where I kind of share what it is that I've learned, even if it came from someone else and it's not just a direct quote about my own life. But maybe what I'm doing is counterintuitive, where I'm promoting other people's content instead of my own, and not making it an all about me show. But I really liked these things, and it helped me shift my perspective and have maybe the ability to be objective when my friends were asking me questions, this past couple of days. Like, it's so hard to step outside of yourself and look at a situation where you are emotionally tied, you are emotionally invested when you're in love with someone, or you like someone, or you're fresh dating, and it feels complicated or obscure and you don't know why anymore, or you don't know why it's confusing. The best thing I can really tell you is you have to communicate what it is that you want. If they're confused about what they want, fine. You can't fix that for them, but you can fix the confusion for yourself. Ask for the question. Ask for the answer that you need. You can't control what the answer will be, so just be, prepared for what it is that they'll say. But if you have a question, ask it. If you need clarity, go get it. I'm not going to guarantee you that it'll come, that they will give it to you, but at least asking for it is important. And waiting around and hoping that they will finally figure it out, or that they will finally choose you, or they will finally have that stupid Hollywood moment where, they see you in a different light for the first time, and they're like, wow, oh my God, I'm so in love. Like, that might happen, but I would really hate for you to waste your time hoping it'll happen when you could be falling in love with yourself instead, when you could be making yourself the best version as possible. So that way, when you do meet the right person, you will get everything that you want, because they are going to want it too. All right. That's all I got, folks. Love you. Mean it. So glad you were here. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review, share the show with your friends. Put it on your Instagram, put it on your TikTok, wherever you want to post about it. I appreciate it. Let me know what you think of the episode. You can reach out to me at hello@podcastforthelost.com. Send me an email. All my social media will be in the show notes. All of the resources that I referenced in this episode will be in the show notes. And check that stuff out. Let me know what you think and if it was helpful to you or not. I'd love to hear it. But as always, I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And thank you for being here on the journey with me as I figure out what to do with my life. I hope it helps you feel better about what you're doing in your life too. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.